I came home from a 6-month business trip ready to surprise my boyfriend. Instead, I found another woman cooking in my kitchen, wearing nothing but a sheer shirt, while he handed her coconut water like they were newlyweds. That night, I didn't just walk away. I made them pay for every curtain, every plate, every betrayal, before I sold the condo and cut them both out of my life for good. The plane tilted gently, descending through a thick blanket of fog that clung to the sound like a veil. The skyline of Seattle appeared in fragments, steel gray towers piercing through mist, cranes frozen in mid-swing, the faint curve of the stadium roof. My city. My home. After 6 months abroad, the sight of it was enough to squeeze my chest with something I couldn't name. Longing, relief, maybe even fear. 6 months. It sounded short on paper, but it had been a lifetime of missed calls, lagging FaceTimes, half-finished texts, and long nights where my only company was the sterile glow of my laptop screen. And every day I had told myself the same thing. Once the project ended, once I stepped back into our condo on First Hill, it would all be worth it. Sean would hug me tight, bury his face in my neck, and remind me why I'd endured the distance. The flight attendant's cheerful announcement snapped me from my reverie. I powered down my phone, though I'd already rehearsed this moment 100 times in my head. The surprise return. The way his face would light up when he saw me a day early. The camera tucked in my tote bag would capture it all. The disbelief, the laughter, the tears if I was lucky. I'd wanted to gift us proof. A memory we could replay whenever distance felt unbearable again. Sean thought I was coming back tomorrow. His last text, sent 9 hours ago, was still glowing at the top of my screen. Got scrims late, miss you babe. A sleepy cat sticker followed, his lazy substitute for tenderness. I'd stared at it on the plane, smiling like a fool, pretending that sticker carried the weight of all the words we hadn't said in months. The lift ride from the airport was a blur of raindrops on glass and the hum of tires over wet asphalt. When we pulled into the porte-cochere of my building, my heart began to sprint. I tipped the driver more than I should have, partly out of gratitude, partly out of nervous energy spilling over. The glass doors slid open and there was Mr. Lewis, the concierge, immaculately dressed as always. Miss Brooks. His eyebrows shot up as he checked the monitor wall. Back early. Early enough to surprise someone, I said, grinning despite the weight in my stomach. He chuckled. Loose lips sink surprises. I won't say a word. Mr. Walker came through last night around 9. Hoodie, headphones, grocery bag. That was Sean. Hoodies were his second skin. My pulse quickened. Perfect, I said, my smile tight. The elevator mirrored walls showed me a version of myself I wasn't sure I believed. Hair neat, blazer pressed, lips painted. I looked like the competent operations lead who had negotiated contracts across time zones, not the nervous girlfriend who had spent weeks fantasizing about one perfect reunion. My reflection smiled back, but my hands trembled as they clutched the suitcase handle. 6-4. Charcoal carpet. Familiar framed black and white prints of Pike Place Market fish tosses. The hallway smelled faintly of citrus cleaner and fabric softener from someone's dryer. My steps slowed as I approached 602 our condo. The brushed steel numbers gleamed, the tiny dent from Sean's clumsy key scratch still visible near the lock. This was it. I placed my tote on the small hallway console table, fingers brushing the succulents that lived there. I retrieved the mini camera, smaller than a matchbox, and set it discreetly among the pots. Its red light blinked alive. Perfect angle. The plan was simple. Code in, door swings open, Sean's face caught on film, and my heart healed all at once. I punched in the code. 0719. My birthday. Our code. The one we'd chosen together, romantic and easy to remember. Beep. Red. Denial. I blinked, laughed softly, and shook my head. Must have tapped too fast. I tried again. 0-7-1-9. Beep. Red again. The keypad's voice chimed. Too many attempts. Please wait 60 seconds before trying again. My smile faltered. Maybe the battery was low. Maybe the building had updated the firmware. Rational explanations, all of them. But a trickle of unease slid down my spine. I leaned against the wall, glancing at the camera to remind myself to keep smiling. When Sean opened the door, the footage needed to show me happy, not scowling like some crazy person. 60 seconds stretched like taffy. My ears filled with the hum of fluorescent lights, the distant slam of another door down the hall. I tapped the code again, slow and deliberate, each press a prayer. Beep. Red. This time the system locked me out entirely. Lockout mode activated. Please contact the property owner. The property owner. That was me. The words hit like a slap. I stepped back, heartbeat thundering. Okay, I muttered, dragging a hand through my hair. Okay, no big deal. I pressed the doorbell. Inside, I knew the ridiculous arpeggio Sean had chosen as a joke would chime. Outside, it was just a clean single note. I waited. 1 second. 10. Silence. I pressed again. This time a voice answered. A woman's voice. Bright, chirpy, with the false perkiness of someone playing hostess. Just leave the package at the door. The hallway tilted beneath me. It wasn't Sean. It wasn't a neighbor. It was a woman. In my condo. I swallowed hard, my throat burning. My eyes shot to the brushed steel numbers. 602. Not a mistake. Not a wrong door. My home. Not a package, I called, keeping my voice level. Could you open the door, please? Pause. Whispering. The faint clatter of metal on counter. My counter. My kitchen. The air grew colder around me. My knuckles whitened around the suitcase handle. From inside. If this is maintenance, come back later. We're cooking. Cooking. In my kitchen. The word landed like a stone in my chest. I pressed the bell again, harder. It's Ava Brooks, I snapped. The owner of this condo. Open the door. The silence that followed was heavy, charged. A chair scraped. A muttered curse. The shuffle of feet. Then the scrape of a chain sliding back. The metallic turn of a deadbolt. My breath caught. My heart slammed against my ribs. The handle turned. The door began to open. The chain rattled free. The deadbolt scraped back. My hand clenched the suitcase handle so hard my knuckles ached. Then the door swung open. She wasn't what I expected. Not the faceless other woman I'd half dreaded, half denied. She was ordinary. Petite, late 20s, chestnut hair pulled into a messy low ponytail, cheeks still flushed from standing over my stove. She wore an apron printed with cartoon food logos, and in one hand she clutched a spatula as if she might brandish it against me. And her expression, God. It wasn't shame. It wasn't fear. It was irritation. Who are you? She demanded, chin tilting up with practiced defiance. I stared at her, then past her shoulder. I could see the edge of my living room couch, draped with a blanket I didn't recognize in a color I'd never allow in my house. Something pink. My heart lurched. I wheeled my suitcase forward across the threshold, voice low and even. I should be the one asking you that. Who are you? And why are you in my home? Her nostrils flared. She stepped in front of me, apron string swinging, spatula raised slightly. This is private property. You can't just barge in here. If you don't leave right now, I'll call the cops. I let out a short, humorless laugh. You're threatening to call the cops on me? In my condo. Something flickered in her eyes then. Recognition maybe, but she masked it quickly with a sharper glare. She planted her feet in my doorway like she belonged there. Before I could push past her, a familiar voice echoed from deeper inside. Hey picky eater, I found the coconut water you like. Had to hit 3 different stores, but... Sean's voice. The grocery bag rustled as he stepped inside, hoodie half-zipped, hair damp from the drizzle. He hadn't seen me yet. His words tumbled out casually, intimate, meant for her. You better thank me later with a massage, Tessa. Tessa. The name rang in my ears like a gong. Then he looked up. Our eyes locked. The grocery bag slipped from his hand, a carton of coconut water tumbling out, rolling across the floor until it bumped against my suitcase. Ava. His voice cracked. What are you doing here? What am I doing here? My own voice was ice. Sean, what is she doing here? His face drained of color. He stumbled forward, arms half extended as if nothing were wrong. Babe, you're back. God, you should have told me. I would have picked you up at the airport. I didn't move. His arms hovered between us, empty. My body was too stiff, too frozen to accept his embrace. Behind him, the girl, Tessa, had bent to retrieve the grocery bag. She rose gracefully, setting it on my counter with a familiarity that twisted my stomach into knots. Her eyes flicked toward Sean, then landed on me, cool and appraising. Sean, who is this? She asked. Who is this? The laugh that burst from me startled even myself. Bitter, sharp, jagged. Who am I? I'm the woman who bought this condo outright. The woman who's been with him for 5 years. Who are you? Tessa didn't flinch. Her grip on the spatula loosened, then tightened again. I live here, she said simply. My blood roared in my ears. Sean stepped closer, voice desperate. Babe, listen. This isn't what it looks like. Oh. I snapped, whipping my gaze back to him. Because it looks like you've replaced me with a live-in chef who calls you pet names while you run errands for her. Tell me, Sean, what exactly is it supposed to look like? Tessa leaned casually against the counter, crossing her arms. She smirked. Maybe it looks like someone who wasn't around for 6 months. Someone who left. Someone who forgot how lonely this man gets. The words sliced through me, precise and cruel. Sean spun to her, panicked. Tessa, don't. But she didn't stop. Maybe it looks like I stepped in where you stepped out. And maybe it looks like he didn't complain. My vision blurred. Rage and disbelief swirled until I couldn't separate one from the other. My condo smelled of garlic and ginger. My spices, my pans, my stove. All hijacked for some grotesque charade of domestic bliss I hadn't been invited to. Sean, I whispered, voice trembling. How long? He opened his mouth. Closed it. His lips fumbled for words that didn't come. How long? I demanded, louder now, echoing off the walls. He winced. She's just been helping. Cooking. Making sure I ate. You know how bad I am when you're not here. That's all it is, Ava, I swear. That's all. I gestured wildly at the apartment. My couch draped in a blanket I've never seen. Pink curtains. Couples' mugs on the counter. And her. I jabbed a finger at Tessa, who lifted her chin defiantly. Parading around in my kitchen like she owns the place. You call this nothing? Sean's mouth worked uselessly. I didn't mean. Tessa's smirk widened. Maybe you shouldn't have left if you didn't want someone else moving in. I lunged forward before I realized it, suitcase forgotten, fury propelling me. Get out, I hissed. Get the hell out of my home. But Sean caught my arm, his voice frantic. Babe, please, listen, don't do this. Don't blow it up. We can explain. I wrenched free. Explain? Then explain this, Sean. Why does my front door code not work anymore? His mouth fell open. Silence. I stepped closer, eyes blazing. Why does my condo lock me out but let her in? His face twisted, panic and guilt warring across it. She kept forgetting the code, so You changed it, I finished for him, the words dropping like stones between us. Neither of them spoke. I laughed then, hollow, bitter, the sound scraping my own throat. You changed the lock to my condo. To her birthday, didn't you? Sean's silence was the only confirmation I needed. The weight of it settled over me like lead. In that instant, the 5 years I'd invested collapsed into ash. I straightened, my voice cutting. You made your choice the second you changed that code. Don't you dare call me babe. Don't you dare try to hug me. You and your little dining partner can play house all you want. But not here. Not in my home. Tessa shifted, finally losing a fraction of her bravado. Her lips pressed tight, her spatula dropping with a clatter onto my counter. Sean reached for me again, voice cracking. Ava, please, don't. But I stepped back, hand up, my glare stopping him cold. Don't you touch me. The air between us was thick with garlic and betrayal. My stomach churned. My world, my home, my man. All hijacked by a woman who looked at me like I was the intruder. And maybe in their eyes I was. Sean rubbed the back of his neck like a boy caught sneaking candy before dinner. His eyes darted between me and Tessa, and his voice carried that pleading, wheedling note I'd once found endearing. You remember Ava? I told you about her. I blinked. Told me what? She's the healthy meal partner. From the building app. He gestured vaguely toward Tessa, who stood with her arms folded, smirk firmly in place. You know, that community thing where residents could book meal prep. I wasn't eating right while you were gone, so you hired a stranger to waltz into my kitchen? Tessa spoke before he could answer, her tone sharp and bright, like the pop of oil in a hot pan. Not a stranger. A professional. Sean was practically starving himself. I stepped in. Someone had to take care of him. My laugh was brittle. Funny. I thought that was his responsibility as a grown man. Sean flinched but pressed on, desperate. Babe, you know how it is when I get wrapped up in streaming. I forget meals. I order junk. She actually made it better. I pay her a small fee, she comes by and cooks. It's clean, it's healthy. You'd like it, I swear. I scanned the kitchen. My cabinets wore stickers I hadn't approved. The fridge bore pastel magnets spelling love bites. And on the counter sat 2 mugs. One blue with a puppy, one pink with a kitten. Matching. My throat closed. Those weren't here before. Sean's gaze followed mine. He had the audacity to smile sheepishly. Cute, right? He brought them over. Just mugs. Tessa reached for the puppy mug, filled it from a jug of coconut water, and slid it across the counter toward Sean. He took it without hesitation, sipping as if this ritual were natural, as if it had been practiced 100 times while I was halfway across the globe. And then came the words that made my skin crawl. Don't just stand there, Tessa snapped at him, half playful, half commanding. Pour me some too. Oh, yeah, sorry. Sean scrambled for another cup. He grabbed a pink one from the rack, and before he could fill it, Tessa's voice cut across the room like a whip. Not that one, stupid. That's my cup. He froze, stammered, and set it down with the obedience of a scolded child. My jaw dropped. Did you just? But Sean only laughed nervously, rifling through the cabinets until he found another glass. Tessa rolled her eyes, muttering under her breath, honestly, men. I stood there, invisible. When the drinks were poured, she turned to me, her smile syrupy sweet. You must be tired from traveling. Sit down, Ava. Dinner's ready. I wanted to spit back that I wouldn't sit at a table set by an intruder. But my body moved of its own accord. I pulled out a chair, stiff-backed, lowering myself with the posture of someone refusing to give ground. Tessa disappeared into the kitchen, humming. A few clatters, the hiss of a ladle. Then she emerged with plates of food, 3 dishes and a soup, all steaming. She set them down with the flourish of a proud chef. Sean's eyes lit up. Smells amazing, Tess. Tess. The familiarity sliced me raw. I gripped the table's edge. This was my dining table, purchased after weeks of comparing woods and finishes. The grooves in the chair backs had been chosen by me, not them. And yet, watching them move in tandem, her setting the food, him fetching utensils, I felt like I was watching a couple in their own home. And then came the final insult. Oh no, Tessa said suddenly, her voice dripping with false surprise. We only have 2 bowls. She gestured toward the table. There they were, the matching puppy and kitten bowls, filled and steaming, one in front of Sean, one in front of her. Tessa tapped her chin theatrically. What to do, what to do? Sean chuckled awkwardly, scratching the back of his head. Maybe. I know, she exclaimed, darting back into the kitchen. Within seconds she returned holding a flimsy disposable plastic bowl, the kind I'd last seen stacked in the back of the pantry for takeout leftovers. She filled it with rice and placed it in front of me with mock apology. Here you go, Ava, she said sweetly. Sorry about that. But don't worry, plastic bowls work just fine. Her eyes sparkled with triumph. Sean didn't even flinch. He didn't notice the insult. Didn't notice the humiliation burning my cheeks. He picked up his puppy bowl, grinned at her and said, Man, this looks amazing. You've outdone yourself again, Tess. I stared at the plastic bowl in front of me. My reflection warped in its surface, distorted, disposable, just like the vessel they'd chosen for me. He blinked, chopsticks halfway to his mouth. What's wrong? I pushed the plastic bowl away, the scrape loud against the wood. I won't eat like a guest in my own home. The silence after I shoved away the plastic bowl could have cracked glass. Sean stared at me like I'd just spoken another language. Tessa's smirk held steady, though her eyes glittered with something sharper. Triumph, maybe. Then, with a theatrical little sigh, she patted her forehead. Oh, silly me. I forgot to take this off. Her fingers tugged at the apron strings. The cartoon logo apron fell away with a rustle, fluttering onto the counter. And underneath she wore nothing but a white button-down shirt, sheer, thin, nearly transparent. The fabric clung to her like mist, and there was no bra beneath. In the kitchen light her outline was unmistakable. My stomach lurched. She stood there, bare-faced in her provocation, biting the end of her chopsticks with a coy tilt of her head. Much better. That apron was too hot. Sean choked on his rice. Tessa, what are you? But she cut him off smoothly, turning her gaze on me. What's the matter, Ava? Never seen confidence before. I could hardly breathe. My entire body buzzed with fury, heat rising to my face until I thought I might combust. Confidence. I spat. That's what you call walking around in another woman's house half naked? That's not confidence, it's desperation. Her smirk deepened. Call it whatever you want. Sean doesn't seem to mind. Sean flailed, panicked. No, babe, it's not like that, I swear. She dresses weird sometimes, that's all. It's nothing. Nothing. My voice climbed, sharp and dangerous. I gestured at her sheer shirt, at her smug grin, at the entire circus of indignities I'd been dragged into since walking through the door. This is what you call nothing? Tessa leaned over the table deliberately, letting the fabric gape at her chest. Her voice dropped to a syrupy purr. You know, Ava, if you had been here, maybe he wouldn't have needed me. But you left. I stayed. Maybe that tells you everything you need to know. My vision went red. Before I could stop myself, my hands shot out and slammed against the table. The plates rattled. Then with one violent sweep I sent everything crashing to the floor. Dishes, soup, chopsticks. All of it tumbled in a cacophony of shattering porcelain and splattering broth. The smell of garlic and miso exploded into the air. Steam curled upward like smoke from a battlefield. Tessa screamed, stumbling back as hot soup splashed across her sheer shirt, clinging to her skin. What the hell? She shrieked. Sean jumped to his feet. Ava. What the fuck is wrong with you? His voice was sharper than I'd ever heard it, furious and disbelieving. You've been sour since you walked in and now this? You're acting insane. I stood tall, chest heaving, fists clenched at my sides. Insane? Sean. I jabbed a finger at Tessa, who was patting uselessly at her wet shirt. This is insane. Bringing her into my home, giving her my kitchen, my table, my bowls, my man. And then expecting me to smile and accept it. Sean's face twisted with rage. He pointed at me like I was the intruder. Enough. You owe Tessa an apology. For a moment I thought I'd misheard. Excuse me. You heard me. His voice cracked, but he pressed on, jaw tight. You made a scene. You ruined dinner. You scared her half to death. You need to apologize. The laugh that burst out of me was jagged, almost feral. You want me to apologize? To her? Yes, he barked. She's done nothing wrong. The words detonated in the air. Something inside me snapped clean in two. I moved before I thought. My hand shot up and the crack of my palm against his cheek echoed through the condo. Sean staggered, eyes wide, hand flying to his face. Tessa gasped. You. But I wasn't done. Fury coursed through me, raw and electric. I grabbed a fistful of Tessa's collar and yanked. The flimsy buttons popped, fabric gaping to reveal exactly what I'd known. Bare skin beneath, her provocation laid bare. I shoved her back toward Sean, my voice like thunder. Before I apologize, Sean, why don't you explain this? Why she's cooking half naked in my house? Sean's face drained of all color. His mouth opened and closed, useless. His eyes flicked to Tessa's exposed chest, then away, shame and panic painting him pale. I don't know why she dressed like that. It's not me. I swear. She's the one who... Tessa pulled the shirt closed, her cheeks flaming with a mix of rage and humiliation. But she didn't deny it. I let go, shoving her away with disgust. My hands trembled, my pulse thundering. Sean stammered, his voice breaking. Ava, listen, I didn't, it's not like... Then why... I cut in, voice low, deadly. Did my door lock reject my code today? Why did it tell me to contact the property owner when I am the property owner? His eyes went wide. His mouth worked soundlessly. I stepped closer, pinning him with my stare. Tell me, Sean. What did you change the code to? He flinched. What? Change. To. Silence. Tessa's lips curled into a cruel smile. And then Sean broke. The words slipped out like a confession dragged from his bones. 990817. Tessa's birthday. My chest constricted. The air left my lungs in a rush. Sean swallowed hard, guilt written all over his face. She kept forgetting the old one, your birthday, and she'd be locked out for hours while I was streaming. I thought, it was easier this way. Easier. My voice cracked, rising. You changed the lock on my condo to her birthday because it was easier? His mouth opened, closed. He looked small, pathetic. Rage is fire. It burns hot, bright, and wild. But strategy is ice. It's slow, deliberate, merciless. By the time Sean stammered out his pathetic explanation about the lock code, the fire in me had burned through every layer of shock. What was left was cold. Calculating. I didn't scream. I didn't collapse into the kind of sobs Sean probably expected. Instead, I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo of the shattered plates on the floor. Then another of the soup dripping off the table. Then the smug face of Tessa clutching her half-buttoned shirt. Hic. Sean flinched. Ava, what are you doing? Documenting, I said flatly. For what? Ava, please, this is crazy. Crazy, I echoed. My eyes cut to him and he fell silent. Crazy is letting another woman redecorate my condo. Crazy is repainting my cabinets, changing my tiles, and swapping out furniture without my consent. Crazy is replacing my code with her birthday. I'm just making a record. He stared, dumbfounded, as I took photo after photo. The curtains I'd never chosen, the throw pillows in tacky colors, the couple mugs lined neatly on the counter. You're overreacting, Tessa muttered, pulling her shirt tighter. They're just little things. I turned to her slowly. These little things cost money. And they don't belong to you. That night, after I shoved Sean and Tessa out with nothing more than a glare and a slammed door, I didn't sleep. My body hummed with adrenaline, but my mind was clear. Focused. By morning, I'd called in reinforcements. Jordan Kim arrived first. Sharp, efficient, her blazer pressed as if she'd ironed it on the way over. She'd been my closest friend since college, and now she was a practicing attorney specializing in consumer and tenant law. When she stepped into my condo, her eyes swept the space like a scanner. Holy shit, she muttered, taking in the pink curtains and bunny pillows. They turned your condo into a dorm room. Not for long, I said, pressing my phone into her hand. I need you to help me build a case. She flipped through the photos. Good instincts. You're already halfway there. Noah Rivera came next, laptop bag slung over his shoulder, calculator in hand. He'd always been the numbers guy in our group. The one who could take a messy situation and distill it into dollars and cents. Wow, he said, whistling low as he stepped inside. They really went full HGTV, huh? Without my permission, I snapped. Then let's put a price on their little makeover, Noah said cheerfully, already pulling out his laptop. Together, the three of us worked methodically. Jordan dictated legal phrasing, Noah crunched numbers, and I opened every drawer, every cabinet, every closet, hunting for evidence of invasion. Kitchen cabinets, I called out, snapping photos of the repainted surfaces. Custom ordered, walnut finish. Repainted tacky white. Replacement cost, $25,000. Noah typed furiously. Got it. Refrigerator, I continued, opening the door. I ordered a Sub-Zero. They swapped out the shelving inserts, drilled in a goddamn wine rack. Replacement, $12,000. Added, Noah said. The TV cabinet, Jordan noted, pointing. You told me you bought mahogany, right? I nodded tightly. Custom built. They painted it over in some chalky off-white. Jordan's nose wrinkled. Criminal. Replacement? I asked. $7,000 minimum, Noah said without looking up. We moved through the condo like detectives, cataloging every insult. Balcony tiles. Original imported slate, replaced with cheap faux stone. Replacement, $8,000. Bathroom tiles. Original mosaic ripped out, replaced with pastel ceramic. Replacement, $15,000. Living room decor. Sofa covers, pillows, curtains, all swapped. Replacement, $10,000. Study. Rare books damaged, shelves rearranged. Value loss, $30,000. Kitchen cookware. My stainless steel set scratched to death. Replacement, $4,500. On and on it went. Every discovery twisted the knife deeper, but each number Noah entered into his spreadsheet steadied me. It turned fury into fact. By evening, Noah sat back with a triumphant sigh. Total estimated loss, $278,000. Not including emotional damages which your lawyer friend here can tack on later. Jordan smirked. You've got them by the throat, Ava. Legally, morally, financially. I exhaled slowly. Good. I picked up my phone, opened the messaging app, and created a new group chat. I added Sean. I added Tessa. Then with deliberate precision I named the group, Restitution Committee. Within seconds Sean messaged, "What is this?" Tessa followed, "All dramatic much?" I ignored them both. I uploaded the spreadsheet Noah had compiled, complete with photos, itemized list and totals. Then I typed, "This is a record of damages incurred in my condo while I was away. Total, $278,000. You are jointly responsible. You have 10 days to compensate me in full. Failure to do so will result in legal action." The 3 dots danced as Sean typed. Then stopped. Then typed again. Finally, "Ava, come on, don't do this. We're family." "Family," I muttered aloud, bile rising in my throat. Tessa typed back, "Good luck proving any of this in court." Jordan leaned over, smirking at my screen. "Oh, we can prove it. And she knows it." I looked at the group name, Restitution Committee, and allowed myself a thin, cold smile. 10 days. 10 days and they would pay for every scratch, every curtain, every insult. For once the power was mine. Locks. That was the first thing I fixed. The morning after I created the Restitution Committee chat, I called a locksmith. By noon the old keypad was gone, replaced with a newer, sleeker model that linked directly to my phone. Only I had the code now. I also installed a deadbolt so thick it looked like it could survive a battering ram. Then came the cameras. One above the door, one facing the entryway, another tucked neatly into the corner of the living room. I wasn't leaving a single blind spot. If Sean or Tessa so much as breathed near my condo again, I'd know. The installation crew left by mid-afternoon. For the first time since stepping back into this nightmare, I felt a measure of safety. That night, as rain streaked down the windows, my phone buzzed. Emotion alert. I opened the feed. And there they were. Sean and Tessa stood huddled at my door, unaware of the lens above them. Tessa clung to his arm, whispering something in his ear. He bent down, kissed her. Their hands roamed over each other, sloppy and desperate. They laughed between kisses like teenagers sneaking around their parents' house. In front of my door. I didn't rage this time. I didn't even cry. I calmly hit record. 30 seconds of crystal clear video. Then I uploaded it straight into the Restitution Committee chat. Caption, "If you love each other this much, please love somewhere else. My doorstep is not a motel. Next time I'll send this directly to the HOA board." Jordan, ever the lawyer, responded with a string of clapping emojis. Noah simply wrote, "Cold. Perfect." Sean didn't reply. Tessa sent a single vomit emoji, then went silent. 2 days later the cleaning crew arrived. I'd booked them for a deep clean. Scrub away the lingering stench of garlic, grease, and betrayal. Halfway through, one of the women tapped my shoulder nervously. "Ma'am, do you want to keep this?" She held up a small scrap of fabric pinched between 2 gloved fingers. Pink lace underwear. My stomach twisted. "Where did you find that?" I asked, though I already knew. "Under the bed," she said. I stared at the flimsy scrap. "Bag it. I'll deal with it." After they left, I snapped a photo of the panties and dropped it in the group chat, tagging Tessa. "Hello. Is this yours?" For a few minutes, silence. Then Tessa's typing bubbles. Finally, her reply. "Yeah. So what? Jealous old woman?" "Old woman." I almost laughed. I was 32. I typed back, "Good. Since it was found under my bed, that means you two have been using it. Therefore, I'll be adding the cost of a new mattress and frame to the damages list. Total, $4,600. I attached the updated spreadsheet Noah had prepared. Jordan chimed in, "Admissible in court." "Congratulations, Tessa, you just incriminated yourself." The chat went quiet. By the end of the week, their bravado had crumbled. Tessa flooded the group with voice notes. Long, rambling, defensive. I didn't bother opening them. Jordan advised me to screenshot everything and archive it. Evidence was evidence. Sean, on the other hand, grew more pathetic by the day. His messages shifted from anger to pleading. "Ava, come on. Don't drag this out. We can fix it." I ignored him. On the 9th day of the deadline, a message popped up. "Fine. Meet us tomorrow." The next morning, I watched through the peephole as Sean shuffled toward my door, dragging a heavy suitcase. Tessa trailed behind him, sunglasses perched on her face despite the cloudy weather. Sean knocked once, then muttered, "Ava? Open up." I cracked the door, keeping the chain fastened. "Password." He blinked. "What?" You wanted to change the code so badly. Surely you remember it. His face flushed crimson. Ava, please, don't. I shut the door again. He cursed under his breath, then knocked harder. Fine. 990817. The sound of it disgusted me, but I let the chain drop and opened the door. Sean stumbled in, lugging the suitcase onto the table. He unzipped it with a flourish, revealing neat stacks of cash, bundled, rubber-banded, and smelling faintly of desperation. Tessa leaned against the wall, arms crossed, looking anywhere but at me. There, Sean said, trying for bravado. You wanted money? You got it. I tilted my head. Oh, Sean. Do you really think I'm stupid enough to take your word for it? He frowned. What do you mean? It's right here. You could have stuffed this with newspaper under the first few stacks. I snapped the suitcase closed. We're going to the bank. His jaw dropped. What? No, I was already pulling on my coat. If it's all real, you have nothing to worry about. Right. Jordan's voice buzzed in on speakerphone. Smart. Don't accept it outside official verification. Sean groaned, defeated. And that was how half an hour later I found myself marching into a downtown bank with Sean and Tessa trailing behind like scolded children. The teller raised her eyebrows at the suitcase. Deposit. Verification first, I said coolly. They counted every bill under the bright fluorescent lights. One by one, stacks slid through the machine, numbers clicking upward. Sean shifted from foot to foot, sweat beading at his temples. Tessa chewed her lip, pretending not to care, though her foot tapped nervously against the tile. At last the teller looked up. Total, $278,600. All authentic. I smiled thinly. Deposit it all, please. Sean's head snapped up. Wait, you're depositing it? Just like that? Of course, I said smoothly. That money was never yours to begin with. Consider it restitution. The teller slid me the receipt. I folded it neatly, tucked it into my wallet, and turned toward the exit without another glance at them. Sean grabbed my arm. His voice cracked. Ava, wait. I yanked free. Don't touch me. He looked wrecked. Tessa muttered something under her breath that sounded like bitch, but I didn't dignify it with a response. Outside, the Seattle drizzle misted over us. Sean looked at me, eyes wide, like he was seeing me for the first time. Ava, we've been together 5 years. You can't just throw that away over a few mistakes. I laughed, sharp as broken glass. Mistakes? Sean, a mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning toast. I jabbed a finger into his chest, brought another woman into my home, let her crawl into my bed, and changed my lock code to her birthday. That's not a mistake. That's a decision. He flinched. I stepped back, rain streaking down my coat, my voice steady as ice. And I've made mine. Then I walked away, the bank receipt heavy in my pocket, my spine straighter than it had been in months. The bank receipt felt heavier than gold in my wallet. Proof. Closure printed on thermal paper. $278,600. Every penny accounted for. I didn't look back at Sean and Tessa as I left the bank. I didn't need to. Their humiliation hung in the air like smoke. For once, I wasn't the one stumbling, apologizing, bending myself into knots. I was the one walking away with my head high, rain misting over my coat like a benediction. Seattle's streets gleamed slick under the drizzle. I hailed a cab, slid into the back seat, and gave my address out of habit before catching myself. My address. The word tasted bitter. That condo wasn't my home anymore. Not really. It was a crime scene, a mausoleum stuffed with pink curtains and kitten mugs, the smell of garlic that clung even after the cleaners scrubbed every surface. By the time the taxi pulled up to First Hill, I'd already made my decision. I wasn't staying. I let myself in with my new code, the lock's soft click oddly comforting. Inside, the place looked cleaner than it had in months. My team of professionals had scrubbed away the stains, boxed up the cheap trinkets, bagged the pastel decor. But even stripped of Tessa's tackiness, the walls whispered. I couldn't sit on the couch without imagining them curled there. Couldn't stand in the kitchen without hearing her syrupy voice ordering Sean around. This wasn't a home anymore. It was evidence. I pulled out my phone and called a realtor. I want to list my unit, I said. Immediately. She promised to send someone the next day. That night, as I was boxing up my own essentials, my phone buzzed. I stared at his name on the screen until it went dark. Then it lit up again. And again. Persistence, always his most annoying quality. Finally, I swiped to answer. Not because I wanted to hear him, but because I wanted this conversation finished. Ava, he said, his voice rough like he hadn't slept. We need to talk. No, Sean, I said evenly, you need to talk. I don't. He ignored the barb, plowing ahead. Look, I know I messed up. But 5 years, you can't just throw that away. I laughed, sharp and humorless. I didn't throw anything away. You did. I didn't mean to hurt you. His voice cracked. Tessa, she was just convenient. I cut in. Available? Half naked in my kitchen. Silence. He tried again, softer this time. You'll never meet another man who knows you like I do. Who's been there for you through everything. Ava, we grew up together in that place. We built it. The nostalgia card. What? You want to talk about building? My voice sharpened. I built the condo. I paid for it. I furnished it. I kept us afloat while you chased your fantasy of being a streamer. And while I was in Singapore keeping my job, and by extension you, alive, you were here letting another woman take over everything I made. He exhaled shakily. I love you. I almost pitied him then. Almost. Love doesn't look like changing the lock code to her birthday, I said. Love doesn't look like rice in a plastic bowl while she eats from couples' dinnerware. Love doesn't look like you making me feel like a guest in my own house. He had no comeback. So I ended it for him. I've already put the condo up for sale. By the time the papers are signed, you'll have no excuse to ever come near me again. We're done, Sean. Clean break. Permanent. He made a strangled noise, something between a sob and a laugh. You think you're so strong. But when it's 2 a.m. and you're alone, you'll remember me. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said coolly. But even if I'm alone, I'll never be sitting across from someone who thought I deserved plastic cutlery in my own home. I'll take a loan over that any day. And I hung up. The next morning I went nuclear. I blocked Sean's number. Blocked Tessa's. Deleted their texts, archived the Restitution Committee chat, and handed all the screenshots to Jordan to keep in her legal files, just in case. I wiped Sean from my social media. Unfollowed, unfriended, erased. The realtor came by at noon, took glossy photos of the condo and promised to have it listed within days. By that evening I was already browsing international flights. There's a strange peace that comes from cutting something out at the root. For weeks I'd been nothing but a storm, rage, betrayal, humiliation. But once I decided to burn it all down, Sean, Tessa, the condo, the history, I felt lighter. Sean thought I'd regret it. Maybe a weaker version of me would have. But regret is for people who wish they'd acted differently. I didn't. I made them pay. In cash. I reclaimed every cent of value they thought they could erase with curtains and mugs. And then I walked away clean. The day the condo went under contract, Sean tried one last time. An email, long and rambling, with subject line, "Please." I didn't open it. I forwarded it to Jordan, added his address to my block list and deleted the thread. There was nothing left to say. That night, standing at my window overlooking the gray sprawl of Seattle, I allowed myself one last thought of him. Of them. Of what I'd endured. 5 years reduced to cash, receipts, and a bitter lesson. But I wasn't bitter anymore. I was free. And freedom, I realized, was priceless. The condo sold faster than I expected. Seattle's market was still ravenous for well-located units, even ones with a sordid history. A young tech couple signed papers within a week, giddy about the new paint job that had once made me nauseous. I didn't bother to correct them. I took the cashier's check, endorsed the final documents, and walked away. By then I was already living out of suitcases, my essentials pared down to what could fit into 2 hardshell spinners and a carry-on. The rest, furniture, books, keepsakes, I either put in storage or sold. I was no longer interested in anchoring myself to walls that could betray me. The morning I boarded my flight to London for my next assignment, I thought that was the end. But endings rarely come so neatly. 2 weeks after the sale, my real estate agent called me in a fluster. "Ava, I hate to bother you, but there was an incident at your old condo." I stiffened. "My old condo? You mean the one I no longer own?" "Yes, exactly, but apparently your ex showed up at 2 in the morning, banging on the door. He was yelling, demanding to be let in. The new owners called security, then the police. He insisted he was your fiancé. A bitter laugh slipped from me. Fiancé? That's new. He couldn't even commit to dinner plans when we were together. He was taken to the precinct, she continued delicately. They asked if you'd like to come down and clarify the situation. He keeps demanding to see you. For a moment I pictured it. Sean slumped in a plastic chair under harsh fluorescent lights, hoodie damp with sweat, eyes wild, voice cracking as he tried to convince officers he still belonged to me. The image should have broken my heart. Instead, it only confirmed what I already knew. He was addicted to the idea of me, not the reality. I said it calmly, clearly, so there could be no mistake. Tell them I don't know him. My agent hesitated. Ava. I don't know him, I repeated. Let the process run. And that was that. Later, Jordan forwarded me a video she'd intercepted, one of Sean's last attempts at pity theater. Someone had recorded him on the station floor, sobbing, face pressed to his knees. The man who once puffed his chest at me and claimed I'd never find better was reduced to a puddle of tears, begging strangers to let him see me. I didn't click play. I didn't need to. The Ava who once would have rushed to comfort him was gone. Meanwhile, I moved forward. London welcomed me with cold mornings and endless black taxis. My new office was sleek and buzzing, colleagues too busy with global projects to care about my personal dramas. I slipped into the rhythm easily. Coffee in hand by 8 a.m., strategy calls by 9, contracts signed by noon. In the evenings I walked the Thames, the lights of the city shimmering across the water like new possibilities. No pink curtains. No couple mugs. No plastic bowls. Just me unburdened. On weekends I traveled. Paris for a gallery opening. Rome for a wine tasting. Edinburgh for a literature festival. Every city was a reminder that the world was vast, full of stories bigger than Sean Walker and his betrayal. Occasionally I'd get whispers through the grapevine. A mutual acquaintance texted once to say Sean had been streaming sporadically, his followers dwindling, his once booming voice reduced to hoarse rants. Another said Tessa had disappeared entirely, moved out of Seattle, no forwarding address. It wasn't my business anymore. And yet, late at night in hotel rooms, I sometimes wondered if Sean replayed it all in his mind. The coconut water, the mugs, the lock code. If he realized the exact moment he lost me wasn't when I walked out, but when he handed me a disposable bowl in my own home. That tiny humiliation was the whole truth in miniature. The clean break wasn't just about selling property or blocking numbers. It was about rewriting myself. I was no longer the woman who tolerated crumbs because she thought loyalty was noble. I was the woman who itemized every insult, put a price on her pain and made them pay it in full. I didn't need revenge stories whispered in back alleys or elaborate plots. I had receipts. I had the law. I had my own 2 feet carrying me across continents. And that was enough. One evening, months later, I sat at a cafe in Barcelona, journal open, glass of Rioja at my elbow. The air smelled of garlic and sea salt. Laughter drifted from the street, warm and alive. I wrote one sentence across the page, bold and final. Freedom is the only luxury worth fighting for. Then I closed the journal, took a sip of wine and smiled. Sean was a ghost. Tessa was a footnote. Me. I was the story. The end.